hell is this?
Alright team, we need a successful follow-up to our billion-dollar R-rated supervillain origin story, Joker. Go.
Let's give the sequel a foreign language title the vast majority of the target audience can't pronounce.
Good start. What else?
Make the movie a jukebox musical.
Fantastic.
And the songs should all be poorly arranged, badly produced, geriatric cocktail lounge cliches.
I love it. What else?
The movie should have no plot.
Genius!
Expend 90% of the dialogue on discussing the events of the previous movie.
Yes, please.
And make the movie the most mind-numbingly boring trash ever to brutalize the occupants of a movie theater.
Yes! Now, the ending.
Joker dies.
Who kills him?
Some guy, I guess.
Perfect! Now, we need a scene that echoes in the mind of the viewer, a cinematic triumph that anchors the film in the history of the silver screen, a set-piece spectacular that gets the fans to buy that second ticket just so they can rewatch it. Something incredible, something iconic.
How about a scene where Joker fucks Harley in a dank cell, then comes in her after 9 seconds?
That's it! Great job, team. You're all promoted. So, a musical in which nothing happens for 2 hours, then he dies. $200 million ought to cover it. Now let's get this thing made, then sit back, light up a cigar, and watch the money print itself. Joker Folie Deux despises its audience. It hates the fans of the first movie and wants to punish them for sympathizing with Arthur Fleck because you're not supposed to sympathize with, talk about, or really even acknowledge lonely men with mental health problems languishing in pain at the bottom of an indifferent society. Joker 2 punishes the fans of the first movie by making them languish in pain throughout its 2.25-hour runtime. Fortunately, many of Joker 2's intended victims avoided the agony Todd Phillips had planned for them by simply walking out of the movie, and the vast majority escaped it entirely by not seeing the movie. Joker 2 is one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. Good. Warner deserve nothing but failure for a plan that amounted to the following.
Joker fans, we have made a sequel for you. A musical consisting of tedious courtroom drama and recycled elevator music.
But I don't like tedious courtroom drama and recycled elevator music.
Well, you fucking will do now, slag. Right? I said right.
Before we get into our post-mortem on Joker 2, a brief announcement. I recently passed 100,000 subscribers on this channel. I want to take a moment to say to everyone who has subbed, watched, commented, liked, and shared the videos, fuck you! What, you thought this video was going to be about how bad Joker 2 was? Well, you're wrong. This is a video about how bad you are. The sole reason I made this video is to let you know what an asshole you are for liking my previous videos. Also, I'm going to be stopping this video every few minutes to sing a song about my feelings, because I feel like a lot of you have been wanting that from me, even though no one has actually asked for it. I feel like what's missing from my videos is a song sung so badly. It makes me feel so sadly. Having given it some thought, I have decided that Joker 2 is the worst movie of 2024. Joker 2 has been universally panned. Everyone hates this movie. Here is a poll from a YouTuber I follow called Jesterbill, asking her subscribers what the worst movie of 2024 is. With over 3,000 votes cast, Joker 2 won with 39% of the vote, beating The Crow, Borderlands, Madam Web, and Argyle. But I think people still don't realize just how bad Joker 2 is. I don't care if this take gets me cancelled. I don't care if I lose subscribers over this. I'm coming out and saying it because it needs to be said. Joker 2 is overrated. I have seen guarded praise for 5 aspects of this film. Joaquin Phoenix's performance, Brendan Gleeson's performance, the Mr. Puddle's courtroom scene, the music, and the cinematography. Now, 2 of those are correct. The cinematography and Brendan Gleeson's performance are indeed excellent, but the other 3 are not. There will be a dedicated music section later in the video in which I will dispel any notion that the music in this trash isn't fucking awful. That section will address Joaquin Phoenix's so-called singing, which is so bad that it significantly degrades his overall performance. For now, let's look at what I have heard described as the best scene in the movie by most reviewers who have suffered through through Joker 2, the Mr. Puddles courtroom scene. In the scene, Mr. Puddles, a former colleague of Arthur who witnessed Arthur murder Randall, is being cross-examined by Arthur about the murder. The scene has been called emotionally powerful and the only compelling courtroom scene. It is neither. It's boring and pointless. Like the rest of the movie, the scene relitigates the events the viewer has already seen in the first movie, or presents information the viewer doesn't need or want to know. After spending several minutes reminding us of what we already saw, Mr. Puddles transmits information we didn't need to know, what happened to him, off screen after the murder. Then he reveals that he has been traumatized from witnessing Randall's murder. Pointless information we don't need because we're not morons. We can deduce from the brutality of Arthur's actions in the first movie and Mr. Puddles' reaction to it that this was indeed a traumatic event for him. The Mr. Puddles and Arthur cross-examination is, like the rest of this atrocious mess, a complete waste of time, and an ass-dragging waste of time at that. In the first Joker movie, Arthur's murder of Randall and Mr. Puddles' reaction to it takes 30 seconds. Joker 2 spends 8 minutes describing those 30 seconds. The Mr. Puddles courtroom scene is one of the best scenes in Joker 2, and it's fucking abysmal. It's like a puddle of piss surrounded by feces. The slight silver gleam emanating from this trash scene comes from Joaquin Phoenix and Lee Gill's great chemistry and Lee Gill's excellent performance. I look forward to seeing him in other productions and to not seeing him in Joker Folie 3. While we're on the topic, the best scene in Joker 2 by far is one in which Brendan Gleeson tells a joke about a dead dog and a priest. The scene is great because it's a great joke and Brendan Gleeson delivers it brilliantly. I can't not tell the joke now that I've cock-teased my viewers, so here it goes. When Paddy's dog died, he took it to the local Catholic church. Seeing the priest, he asked, "Father Breen, is there any chance you could do a funeral service for my wee dog Joey? He died this morning." "Now, Paddy, we can't do services for animals. Sure, why don't you bring it to the vet up the road? They can probably give it a wee funeral." "All right, thanks, Father. Do you think $5,000 would be enough for them to do the funeral?" "Paddy, why didn't you say the dog was Catholic?" My magnanimous viewers will forgive my own modest attempt at a rendition of the piece, which pales in comparison to Gleeson's superb delivery. The best part of Joker 2 is an old Irish joke that Todd Phillips copied and pasted into the script from whatever website he found it on. If the movie had just been an hour and a half of Brendan Gleeson telling Irish jokes while occasionally abusing prisoners, that would have been far better than the shite we ended up with. Boggs, what did the Irishman say to the Englishman?
What?
A word I have heard a lot to describe Joker 2 is empty. This is because the movie contains no plot, no characters, no dramatic development, and no legitimate reason to exist. The plot is that there is no plot. Arthur is pulled by the script back and forth endlessly between Arkham and the court. There's some crap song covers. We get the iconic sex scene where Arthur fucks Lady Gaga, putting in a performance so depressing that it makes his stand-up routine from the first movie appear a work of genius by comparison. A dark foreshadowing of the anti-climax to come when Arthur bitches out in court, rejects the Joker identity, and begs to be allowed to suck the DA's cock in a public display of contrition. He even promises to swallow in exchange for a last meal consisting of the mayor's shit. If only this movie had climaxed as fast as Arthur in that iconic scene, I could have spent the time I wasted watching Joker 2 wanking off to the memory of that steamy hot sex scene in which a middle-aged pop star gets fucked by an underweight Joaquin Phoenix in a dank pissy cell. Then the movie gets bored of itself and blows up the courtroom, and then he died. The end. And in what I can't even call a half-assed attempt, in a tithe-assed attempt to infuse something resembling meaning into this garbage ending. Some guy, I guess, carves a Glasgow smile into his face. There are only two characters in Joker 2, Arthur and Mr. Puddles, who are both recycled from the first movie. Every other character is a generic husk, a trite template where a character should be. Let's go through them. Generic Irish prison guard, generic nuthouse inmate, generic some guy, I guess, generic serial killer groupie, generic judge who won't accept any nonsense in his courtroom, generic vaguely smug ambitious go-getter empty suit prosecutor, generic nice lady defense lawyer, generic asshole news reporter. Even Arthur is barely a character. He has absolutely no character development beyond what we already saw in the first movie. He just breezes vaguely between Arthur and the Joker persona. He's really more of an anchor point for the plot to happen around. He is completely passive. He only ever reacts to the actions of the plot and the generic character templates that surround him. Arthur goes to the music group because Brendan Gleeson got him in as an excuse to get out of more menial prison guard tasks. Arthur does an interview with generic asshole news reporter because generic nice lady defense lawyer thinks it might help his defense. Arthur makes a quarter-assed escape attempt because Lady Gaga starts a fire, then literally pulls him away. Even when the script blows up the courthouse, Arthur doesn't do anything. He stumbles outside, walks around concussed for a few seconds, then gets dragged into a car by a random supporter. He escapes the car not in a bid for freedom, but just to go simping after Lady Gaga, who he figures is on the steps from the first movie because the script told him so. How does Lady Gaga know the significance of the steps despite Arthur never telling her? The script told her. Lady Gaga tells Arthur to fuck off because he's not Joker anymore, which prompts him to fuck off. And then he died because he got stabbed by some guy, I guess. Arthur does not take a single consequential action in the entire movie. He does not make even one impactful decision. The only decision he makes is firing his attorney and representing himself in court. Nothing comes of his one decision because that decision does not change the outcome of the trial or have any meaningful collateral effect. The result of this ultra passivity is that Arthur, the plot that surrounds him, and thus the movie itself is astoundingly boring. Arthur reminds me of another passive character I analysed recently. The fact that I'm even making this comparison is a testament to just how shockingly dreadful Joker 2 is. Arthur Fleck in Joker 2 reminds me of Osha from The Acolyte. The writers constantly knock Osha out in one place and wake her up in another as a cheat code to get her from one location to another without her having to make any decisions. Arthur Fleck is treated the same in Joker 2. The script moves him to wherever it wants him, when it wants him there. How does Arthur get to the steps so Lady Gaga can tell him to fuck off? The writers blow up the courthouse and he walks there. How does he avoid recapture in the immediate vicinity of the courthouse? The writers pull him into a car and drive him out of the area. How does Arthur get recaptured so quickly once the all-important Lady Gaga tells Arthur to fuck off? Plot beat has concluded. The writers tell the police where Arthur is. How does some guy, I guess, obtain a shank in a lunatic asylum? The writers gave it to him. I can't even say plot. The runtime of Joker 2 is stuff happens, while a bunch of boring, passive characters stand around talking about what happened in the first movie, and it is fucking mind-numbing to behold. Joker 2 exists for one reason only. Because Joker 1 made over $1 billion. Joker was clearly a one-and-done movie. Arthur Fleck went through a full character arc. He was tossed into a loony bin at the end of the movie. He had taken his revenge on society. He had fully embraced his newfound identity as Joker. No one asked for a sequel to Joker for the same reason no one asked for a sequel to Fight Club. In Fight Club, a lonely man suffering from mental illness goes through an identity crisis, goes mad, gets up to some mischief, overcomes the inner demon that is destroying him, and finally achieves self-resolution. No harm done. The narrator's story was told. We did not need a sequel in which the narrator is arrested and put on trial for terrorism. There is a reason why Chuck Palahniuk's cash grab sequel, Fight Club 2 Fight Harder, has a reader rating of 3 on Goodreads, which for Goodreads is a sewer-dwellingly low score. The most liked review of that book on Goodreads is from a gentleman calling himself Joachim.
I am Jack's bitter disappointment.
If you're wondering what Fight Club 2 Fight Harder is about, well,
somehow Tyler Durden returned.
That's right. At the start of Fight Club 2, Sebastian, that's the narrator's name in the book, is working as an office drone for some company and living a life of placid passivity in the burbs. How original. He is married to Marla Singer. They have a son together. Marla gets bored and decides to replace Sebastian's medication for placebos so she can have an affair with Tyler. Tyler emerges, burns down the house, and heads off to create global chaos. Soon, Tyler's ultimate plan is revealed. He plans to overthrow all world governments. He will achieve this through Sebastian's son, who he plans to train into a leader of men modelled after Alexander the Great. Here is a real quote from the Wikipedia page plot summary of Fight Club 2.
Marla and her growing army of child soldiers track her son to a mountain stronghold and lay siege.
By the way, I haven't read Fight Club 2 Fight Harder and never will. I got the plot summaries from Wikipedia. Arthur Fleck's story was told. All the significant characters from the movie are dead. Arthur murdered his mother, Murray, and Randall, and Sophie turned out to be an imaginary girlfriend based on his neighbour. All plot lines were concluded. A new movie would require a completely new plot with all new characters. The only link between Joker and a sequel would be Arthur, whose story has already been told. So why even bother making this new movie a sequel? Just make an entirely new movie, maybe based in the same universe as Joker, and advertise it as the Joker director's next big project from the Jokerverse. Joaquin Phoenix can be in the movie for 7 minutes. He's the upstart gangster protagonist's cellmate at the start. Later on, upstart gangster attends Joker's execution, at which Joker gives an awesome speech before they fry his ass. That's it. A nice little 7-minute appendage to the first movie within the broader, much more interesting narrative of a new story with a new character. Arthur Fleck is a limited character. He's good for one story, and that's it. The inherent story possibilities of his character are severely limited by his social retardation and low intelligence. Limited characters make for bad sequels. Watch any of the Crow's 3 sequels if you require proof of that. For the love of Gotham, do not watch the 2024 remake. Unless someone has a gun to your head and is forcing you to watch either Joker 2 or The Crow 2024, then you can watch it. Joker 2 is so poorly written that it fails at the most basic setup and payoff. The courtroom explosion literally comes out of nowhere. The movie could have been at least vaguely compelling if, for example, Lady Gaga was a member of some Joker-inspired terrorist group. She insinuates to Arthur that they have something big planned. She doesn't know what, they don't tell her much, but they did instruct her to tell Arthur that on the day she doesn't show up to court, that is the signal to be ready to run. On the day of the explosion, Arthur looks around and Lady Gaga isn't there. Now the viewers are on the edge of their seats. Then, while Arthur is telling the jury to go get fucked at a baby oil orgy, boom, the payoff. By the way, in the Despot version, this happens at the end of the first act, not the end of the movie. Then some terrorists in Joker masks rush in, fire a few random bursts of gunfire at the jury, grab Arthur, throw him in a van, and drive him to a safe house where Lady Gaga is waiting for him. Then the happy couple and their new friends go on a Bonnie and Clyde killing spree. I know, it's not winning any awards for originality, but with a bit of effort, that's a solid B. Maybe even a B+ if Brendan Gleeson tells enough jokes. While the courtroom explosion fails at setup, Arthur's closing statement to the jury fails at payoff. This is the one chance the ass script has given Arthur to do at least something. Stand tall, man! Tell them they can fry your ass so crispy that it would take P. Diddy's baby oil collection to rehydrate it. You'll never apologise for standing up to a society that treated you like trash. You do regret shooting Murray because the man wasn't worth the bullet you sent through his skull. Come on, Arthur, man. In the immortal words of Dustin Hoffman's Hook,
come on, explode out of there. Stop the charade.
But instead of a big, satisfying payoff, the movie meekly and boringly shies away from it, choosing instead to
subvert the audience's expectations. That's still a thing, right?
I mean, audience subversion isn't achingly trite, is it? and so played out that it could not be more 2017 if it was walking around in platform Crocs with a quiffed undercut. Of course, Arthur cannot deliver such a rabble-rousing speech. Todd Phillips is determined to own the chuds and spit in the face of his movie's audience because he thinks a significant portion of Joker 1 fans perceived in that movie an incel rebellion theme. Instead of a fun speech, Arthur has to bore the few remaining viewers who have unwisely chosen not to walk out of the movie theatre by explaining that actually the first movie sucked ass and Arthur also sucks and you probably suck because you're an incel or QAnon adjacent thought terrorism enabler or whatever the hell the mainstream media were vomiting out when the first movie was released, and they were trying to goad anyone who would listen into shooting up a movie theatre. The most egregious failed payoff is of course the murder of Arthur, with absolutely no motive, build-up, or explanation. Some guy, I guess, walks up to Arthur in the corridor, subverts the "you get what you fucking deserve" speech from the first movie, and knifes him. Why did some guy, I guess, kill Arthur? Dunno. Why didn't he do it sooner? Dunno. Where did he get the blade? Dunno. Who is he? Dunno. Then why should I give a fuck? He's Heath Ledger's Joker, maybe? Because look closely and you'll notice he carves a Glasgow smile into his face. The murder of Arthur by some guy, I guess, is the worst major character death since the Night King was killed by Arya in the season of television whose very name awakens the souls of the demented. Arya literally appears out of thin air, and the Night King, after grabbing her, does nothing but stare like an idiot while she slowly drops her dagger into her free hand so she can stab him, which somehow, for reasons known only to the Sith, causes him to spontaneously combust. While it would have been understandable for Arthur to be murdered by a vengeful inmate at the end of the first movie, it makes no dramatic sense here. In Joker 2, in this narrative, this story, Arthur doesn't do anything wrong, unless dereliction of sexual duty to a groupie counts as a crime, which it doesn't, as long as you don't ask her how old she is. Am I right, boys? Not only does Arthur not do anything wrong, he doesn't do anything. His crimes are 1 movie and 5 years behind the audience. There is no catharsis in his death, and no emotional connection to the vengeance wrought upon him. Arthur's murder is an emotionally vapid, utterly bizarre dramatic beat. Arthur Fleck's death is a screenwriting disaster so calamitous that it should be taught in film school so the students can understand the concepts of setup, payoff, character motivation, cathartic release, and dramatic throughline, all of which is missing. Now, let's get on to the giant Joker face paint covered elephant in the asylum, the music.
Please no!
I know, Davis, I know, but as you and anyone who has ever attended a P. Diddy party are well aware, sometimes you just have to bear the pain and get through it. Joker 2 has been universally panned, but I have seen a few arguments hanging around the internet like a diuretic expulsion in a hotel lobby in defense of the music, and guarded praise for Todd Phillips' decision to make Joker 2 a musical. The most insane argument is that Joker 2 isn't really a musical. Sure, there's songs in it, but it's not like the entire movie, and you can kind of just ignore the music if you don't like it. This delusion is admittedly held by only a few fringe lunatics, but let's just dispel it quickly and definitively so we can move on. The soundtrack album is 41.5 minutes long. All of that music is in the movie. Joker 2's runtime is 2 hours and 18 minutes, so 30% of this movie is musical numbers. Joker 2 is a musical. It's not musical adjacent, it's not flirting with the musical genre, it's a musical. Another bad argument about the music I've come across is that as much as
Joker, Folie Deux music doesn't exactly make me fall in love with the movie, it's far from the worst thing about it. Hey, generic movie YouTuber productions here. The music in Joker, Folie Deux, is actually kind of endearing at times in a kitsch sort of way. Joaquin Phoenix gets the songs across pretty well at times, and while present, the music is often subtle and subdued enough that it doesn't interrupt the narrative too much. I feel like the music in Folie Deux is kind of a take it or leave it proposition. And whatever your opinion of the movie itself, I'll give a lot of credit to the filmmakers for making the bold decision to make Folie Deux a musical. I've been Generic Movie YouTuber Productions. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And guys, stay generic.
There is nothing endearing or redeeming about Joker 2's song renditions. They are ghastly. And using the word bold to describe Todd Phillips' decision to make Joker 2 a musical is ridiculous. There's bold as in hiring an art house director to direct Empire Strikes Back and giving him creative control of the production, and there's stupid as in turning Cats, the worst musical ever written, into a $100 million CGI nightmarescape starring James Corden. The decision to make Joker 2 a musical falls into the latter category. It will go down in history, and indeed already has gone down in history, as an infamously stupid decision that significantly contributed to a historic box office bomb. The musical numbers themselves are terrible. They are either painfully generic big band arrangements consisting of strings, brass, drums, and piano, the kind of paint-by-numbers arrangements that have been done dozens of times by other, better artists, or lifeless, drab reinterpretations that suck all the life out of the originals. The result is that Joker 2 has no distinct musical identity. The music is either trite garbage or boring sludge. There are 15 songs in the movie, 5 have generic arrangements, 9 are drab. 1 is drab, then generic. True Love Will Find You in the end, which plays over the credits, is an outlier instrumentally because it's just Joaquin Phoenix and a guitar.
True love will find you.
The track is boring as hell and the production is wrong. It's performed in a bedroom demo style, but the mix is far too wet. The song might have been okay if it had sounded something like this.
But don't give up until true love will find you in the end.
Instead, they felt compelled to soak it in reverb, which ruined the bedroom production style they were going for. Of the two styles in the movie, drab and generic, drab is by far the worst. To give an idea of just how awful these, I won't even call them reinterpretations, these desecrations of the original songs are, here's When You're Smiling, performed by the great Nat King Cole.
The whole world smiles.
I love it. It's chill, kind of upbeat, pleasant, and beautifully performed by the incontestable Nat King Cole. Here's Joker 2's version. Now, auditory trigger warning. Karen iPhone is about to mix these two versions together to create a duet. Karen iPhone.
Smiles with you. When you're laughing. When you're laughing. The sun comes shining through.
It's like the Joker production took the original version, ran it through an AI-created app called Shitify, then woke Joaquin Phoenix up at 4 AM to record his vocal in one take. It's actually quite impressive how bad it is. That level of shit takes real effort. Joaquin Phoenix's vocals are vile. It's all half-mumbled head singing with no body. His vocals are weak, thin, mumbly, quiet, wispy, and lethargic. He sounds half asleep when he's singing, and he does it in every song. I don't care that he did a decent imitation of Johnny Cash a million years ago. Whatever he's doing here sounds atrocious. His singing style has two effects on the songs he's ravaging. One, the song has to be degenerated to the level of his vocal, dragged kicking and screaming into the sewer so that Phoenix's slimy, stinking vocal can crawl putrescently over the used condoms, discarded tampons, and menstrual refuse that refuse to condescend to keep company with it, and in imitation of some venom-like manifestation of sentient slime, attach itself parasitically to the degraded musical arrangement that wants nothing more than to end its own miserable earthly existence so that it can join Lucifer in a crusade of vengeance against God for being so sadistic as to bring it into existence. Did I request thee, Maker, from my clay to mold me the arrangement for Joaquin Phoenix's vocal? Did I solicit thee from darkness to demote me? Oh, for fuck's sake, man. Right now, as I write this, I'm listening to the Shogun soundtrack by Atticus Ross. Great OST, man. Definitely check it out. All Men Can Be Broken is a particular favourite. And now, I have to stop listening to the Shogun OST so I can confirm my analysis of the songs from the Joker 2 soundtrack, which I have listened to 5 fucking times! As bad as Phoenix's quiet vocals are, his singing might actually be worse when he tries to sound like he's awake. He frequently hits bum notes. This was apparently a stylistic choice.
We had to perform live and perform the songs in ways that maybe weren't the most beautiful renditions of the song. There was something very exciting about that.
Todd Phillips did an interview with Variety in August 2024. The following is an excerpt from the interview.
But Phillips and his Joker, Folie, Deux stars wanted to create a raw, more unstable sound, fluctuating between euphoria and despair, even if that occasionally required singing off-key.
So sure, you can argue that the occasional cracked tone, excessively breathy phrase, or off-pitch note is a reflection of Arthur's yo-yoing mental state, but here's the thing, I don't give a fuck. This all the girls in town sounds fucking awful. Especially next to Lady Gaga's vocal. Phoenix singing on his own is bad enough, but putting him in a duet with Lady Gaga is like putting Jaden Smith on screen next to Jackie Chan. Thank God that never happened. You're wrong! The vocals were recorded live on set with the piano player off camera, keeping time with Phoenix and or Lady Gaga. As a result, there are times when whole words are lost completely from the vocal. And this isn't Joaquin Phoenix's fault. It's a producer's job to catch mistakes like that and get Phoenix to do another take or to comp a better vocal. The production on a lot of these songs is just bad. Lazy as in True Love Will Find You in the End, or sloppy as in For Once in My Life. There are lots of other little mistakes all over this soundtrack, but I'm not listening to it again because if I have to suffer through this auditory canine excrement one more wanking time, I'll begin to doubt that James Corden's singing in Cats isn't the worst sound ever captured by human technology.
And just before noon's not a moment to say, oh, God!
It's like if Jaden Smith's fashion sense was sound. Bad arrangements, sloppy performances, and crap production aside, the main problem with Joker 2's songs is this is elevator music. I mean that literally. Here is a 2002 album titled The Best of Elevator Music by a band called Star Sound Orchestra. Track number 7. The song selection is catastrophic. 7 of the movie's 15 songs are from the 60s, 1 is from 1970, the oldest song is When You're Smiling, which was published in 1928. The argument for a jukebox musical song selection being this geriatric is of course that Joker 2 is a period movie set in 1983, so the movie can only contain songs released before that year. It's diegetic, you see. But this argument does not hold up. True Love Will Find You in the End was released in 1984. The song selection is not diegetically coherent, and the songs are not thematically period or genre related. There is absolutely no reason for Joker's songs to exist together in the same place, except maybe on a best of elevator music compilation. Another huge problem with the songs is placement. There is no logical structure to the placement of the songs. The needle drops when Todd Phillips seems to think it should. In a scene in which Arthur is discussing the events of the first movie with generic asshole journalist, he just breaks into song in the middle of the interview. Now, I certainly wasn't invested in the scene in which all they talk about is the end of Joker 1, but there was at least an element of possibility, which created some tension. I was waiting for Arthur to completely lose his shit live on air, which kept me invested on a superficial level. The second Arthur started singing, that was my cue to get up and take a piss, which really freaked out the person sitting next to me in the cinema, because having seen a few of the songs by that stage, I had surmised that they had no relevance to the plot or narrative whatsoever. They are just fantasies in Arthur's head. Functionally, their only purpose is to communicate Arthur's feelings, which the audience is already aware of because we're not morons. We know Arthur is enamored with Lady Gaga from the way he looks at her. We don't need him to spend 3 fucking minutes singing to understand that. Because the songs are irrelevant to the plot, the flow of the movie is brutally derailed every time a song makes an unwelcome appearance. The songs are not woven into the fabric of the narrative, they tear it apart. 30% of Joker Folie Deux is actively sabotaging the momentum and watchability of the other 70%. Todd Phillips clearly does not understand even the most basic principles of how to write a musical. Here is an example of how to place a song correctly from my all-time favorite musical movie, South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut. Satan has just had an argument with his lover, Saddam Hussein. Afterward, he's feeling dejected and walks off to sing a song called Up There about why he wants to conquer the earth. The song is narratively connected to Satan's plan for world conquest. Up There is the final part of a dramatic sequence, but also functions as its own scene. Satan starts singing after his argument with Saddam, not during it. Every song in South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut comes at the start or end of a dramatic sequence, and all of them function as their own scene. And they all fucking crush.
I could be safe and live without a care. Live without a care. If only I could live up there.
The songs in South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut work because Trey Parker understands musicals and knows how to write them. Todd Phillips does not. Quick bit of trivia, Saddam Hussein voiced himself in South Park Bigger, Longer and Uncut. The only vaguely bright spot in Joker 2's music is Lady Gaga. She's a great singer, and what little life emanates from Joker 2's dark, bleak musical landscape comes from her. And she was clearly up for this. She did well with the crap she was given. The musical arrangements that are either turgid and generic, as in To Love Somebody, or degraded and bleak, as in When You're Smiling. And she gives a good performance despite having no character development at all, and being an almost completely passive witness to events throughout the entire runtime of this pain threshold measurement tool that Warner mistook for a viable entertainment product. That said, even Lady Gaga can't come out clean from a river of shit this foul. Her attempt at soul singing on Gonna Build a Mountain is horribly gaudy and comes off as a fraudulent LARP, and her technical proficiency doesn't make the songs she's singing any less boring. Lady Gaga clearly wants to repeat the success she had with A Star Is Born. She was good in that movie, it raised her profile and helped her keep her concert ticket prices higher than Todd Phillips' chatbot GPT app when it wrote the ending to Joker 2. She makes roughly $6.1 million a show. Lady Gaga was so convinced that Joker 2 would be a smash hit that she made a tie-in album to piggyback off its success. More on that bright idea later. According to her team, Lady Gaga was shocked by Joker 2's critical and commercial failure and disappointed because she thought maybe the movie would get her an Oscar nomination. So yeah, don't expect to see Lady Gaga in Joker 3. But Warner, I know you're listening. Seeing as Lady Gaga's out of the threequel, I, the despot, volunteer my services as Joker's duet partner for Joker 3. And I can sing. Here is a sample of my voice from the 2020 masterpiece, I Have No Mouth and Yet I Must Scream.
I have no mouth and yet I must scream.
The quality speaks for itself. Okay, Warner, I'm a fucking star about to go supernova. I don't work with you, you work with me. I do have a few conditions before we start filming though. The movie will be called Joker Folie 3 and will be a franchise crossover jukebox musical with Beverly Hills Cop, starring Eddie Murphy as Axel Foley, and all the musical numbers will be emo rock covers of 90s boy band hits.
Somehow Arthur Fleck returned.
Yeah. If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over me. You are my fire. Tell me why ain't nothing but a mistake. Tell me why I never wanna hear you say I want it that.
And if we can't get Eddie Murphy to play Axel Folie, we'll settle for Amanda Stenberg. I reckon we can get her on the cheap after The Acolyte, and she's already demonstrated her immense musical talents.
But I'm sick and fucking tired of suppressing my rage. 400 years of taking the bullshit.
And on a personal level, I'm just a huge fan of hers and would love to work with her. She is just the worst, horrible wee that I've seen in popular media in years. She's disgusting. And to anybody calling me a punk for hawking my ass to Warner, exposure matters, okay? The despot's gotta stay relevant in this here game. There's a reason the star of the 2012 3D movie, Katy Perry Part of Me, Katy Perry, is a washed-up has-been and internet punching bag. That said, her recent single, Woman's World, did reach number 63 on the Billboard Hot 100, and even if it isn't exactly a masterpiece, it's gotta be better than anything from Joker 2, right?
Yeah, she's a flower. She's a thorn.
Joker 2 should not have been a musical, but if you're going to do something wrong, do it right. If you're going to miscast the role of Don John in Much Ado About Nothing, make damn sure you miscast it with Keanu Reeves, because as bad as he was in that movie, my God did he give it his all, turning in an all-time classic bad performance from a great actor.
In the meantime, let me be that I am, and seek not to alter me. Baraccio. What news?
Making Joker 2 a musical was wrong. The song selection was also wrong. Joaquin Phoenix's singing was wrong. The musical arrangements were wrong. The placement and function of the songs in the narrative was wrong.
It's just wrong.
Joker, Folie à Deux, has been an unmitigated catastrophe for Warner. Karen iPhone? The movie is one of the biggest box office bombs of all time. It bombed on opening weekend and had an 81% drop in its second weekend. That is the highest all-time drop for a comic book movie. The previous record was held by The Marvels, which had a 78% second weekend drop. In its second week, Joker 2 was beaten by Terrifier 3, The Wild Robot, and Beetlejuice 2, which was on its 6th box office weekend and was simultaneously available on premium video on demand. Once again, Michael Keaton has defeated the Joker. Joker 2, a $200 million flagship Warner Brothers movie, was crushed at the box office by an indie horror sequel with a budget of $2 million. After 2 weeks, Joker 2 had made $165 million against a $200 million production budget and $100 million marketing budget. Good old Dan Merrill ran the numbers, and according to his estimates, by the time Joker 2 finishes its pathetic box office run, Warner's final loss on this ill-fated endeavor will be around $200 million, which makes it the 6th biggest box office bomb of all time. Todd Phillips' jukebox musical sequel has already overtaken The Flash to become the 2nd biggest comic book movie flop of all time, the biggest being The Marvels, starring Brie Larson.
There's no competition for me because I'm the strongest, so...
Joker 2 also has the distinction of receiving a D cinema score, the lowest ever for a comic book movie. On the plus side, the movie achieved the admirable and rare feat of uniting both audiences and critics, whose Rotten Tomatoes scores for Todd Phillips' jukebox musical sequel averaged 32% and 33% respectively. Joker 2 is the most walked out of movie in recent history. Here are a few quotes from disappointed cinemagoers who had their evening ruined by Joker Folie à Deux.
Joker 2 was the biggest fucking letdown. Had enough. That sucked. It was like a musical. And I love musicals, but it was a shit musical.
Wish I stayed at home and got my housemate to repeatedly punch me in the face instead.
Never seen it happen before, but every musical set piece this film did, more and more people kept leaving the theater.
Last night was the first time in my life I've seen people get up in the middle of a movie and walk out. Joker 2 is horrible. Save your money.
I have to leave. I can't finish this movie. It sucks.
When she visited him in prison and started singing, I walked out. Fuck that shit.
Todd Phillips insisted that there should be no test screenings for Joker 2, as he didn't want his big reveal that fans of the first movie should go fuck themselves to be spoiled. Warner Brothers were so arrogant in their belief that Joker 2 would be a smash hit that they agreed to the villain Phillips' demand, confident that the brain-dead idiot audience would go see anything with the brand Joker slapped on the title. Even if they had held test screenings and realised how badly the movie would go down with audiences, there's nothing they could have done to fix it. No amount of reshoots can fix a movie this empty and broken, and they were never going to spend less than $100 million on marketing. In a gorgeous twist of poetic justice, Warner rejected offers from Alkin Entertainment and Village Roadshow, who wanted to buy a stake in the production because Warner wanted to keep all the juicy profits to themselves. The result is that Warner's losses were massively increased. The fallout from the Joker 2 debacle has not stopped at one box office bomb. Lady Gaga had the great idea to release a cover album of American jazz standards called Harlequin, inspired by Joker 2, which she describes as a companion album to the movie. Harlequin is the worst performing album of Lady Gaga's career, debuting at number 20 on the Billboard 200, missing out on the much coveted number 19 spot only due to the phenomenal success of Fireworks and Rollerblades by Benson Boone, a just end to an unjust endeavour. By far the worst collateral damage wrought by the J2 bomb is that filmmakers will now have a far harder time keeping studios out of the filmmaking process. Warner gave Todd Phillips a free hand with Joker 2. He had full creative control of the project and final cut. That is astoundingly rare for a high-budget movie, and I will give Warner credit for letting a director make the movie he wanted to make. Unfortunately, it was the wrong director and the wrong movie. Now, due to Todd Phillips' fuck-up, Warner are being criticised for their hands-off approach. Hollywood studios will be shortening their leashes on directors and will be much more reluctant to greenlight projects perceived as risky. Bear in mind, Hollywood cannot distinguish between a project that is risky, as in Iron Man with Robert Downey Jr. playing Tony Stark, and a project that is stupid, as in In his August 2024 interview with Variety, the villain Todd Phillips responded to rumours that Joker 2 cost $200 million.
I read these stories, and it seems like they're on the side of the multinational corporations. They're like, why does it cost so much? They sound like studio executives. Shouldn't people be happy that we got this money out of them and we used it to go hire a bunch of crew people who can then feed their families?
We will begin with Phillips' assertion that he is Robin Hood, taking from the greedy corporation and giving to the impoverished cameraman. Todd Phillips' salary for Joker 2 was $20 million, 10% of the budget. His first priority was not to feed starving gaffers, it was to fill his lair with chests of gold. And since Todd Phillips of Loxley does not seem to understand even the most basic principles of economics, here's a free lesson for him. Budgets are finite. When Warner spent $200 million of their annual movie production budget on Loxley's middle finger to Joker fans, that's money that does not go to other projects. And when Loxley's middle finger to the fans is rejected by the fans and deservedly bombs, leaving a $200 million hole in Warner's finances, that means they have to scrap plans they had for other smaller projects. There are film crews today who are out of work, filmmakers who will not get to make their movie because of the vanity, folly, and folie à deux of the villain Todd Phillips of Loxley. I want to finish this video with a confession. I have a rule on this.
Oh my venti half milk quarter non-fat extra soy split quad shots half decaf regular no foam whip Splenda raw vanilla syrup short sprinkles cinnamon pumpkin spice latte. If I have to listen to another second of your incel glorifying screed, I might have to order a shot of soy powdered cyanide to go with my next Starbucks takeout. Okay, let's unpack this. The $200 million lost on Joker, Folie à Deux, is a small price to pay for the satisfaction of owning the incel fanbase. And even if the end product didn't pan out so great, the idea of making a sequel that put the incel fandom firmly in their place, and made clear that Arthur was a villain, and not a victim, is exactly the kind of sequel that we need in a toxic fan-infested culture, and I'm here for it. And anyway, if nothing else, Joker, Folie à Deux proves that Joker 1 was never that good to begin with. So you and your limp dick baya soy snowflake right woke bro incel chud dude bruh geek frat crybitch toxic fan subscribers can go get fucked at a baby oil giveaway. And Joker 2's music might be ass, but who the hell are you to criticize it? Bro, I've listened to your music. I'd rather Jaden Smith fucked me in both ears with a strap-on dildo made out of James Corden's armpit hair and lubricated with Amandla Stenberg's menstrual blood than listen to that trash again.
No, non-playable sheep, Joker 2 was a disaster in concept, as well as in execution. Todd Phillips should not have made his sequel a musical because Joaquin Phoenix had a dream where Joker sang a song, nor should he have used the movie as a platform for petty, Karenish chud scolding. When Phoenix related his dream to Todd Phillips, Phillips should have responded, "That's nice, Joaquin. Maybe we can have that song from your dream play at the end of the movie credits."
And no one regarded Arthur as a heroic figure worthy of admiration.
The audience liked Arthur Fleck because he was an interesting, thought-provoking character who simultaneously elicited sympathy and repulsion. The unwatchable wank that calls itself a sequel to Joker will never be able to change the fact that Joker is a masterpiece and one of the best movies of the 2010s. As I was saying, I have a rule on this channel. I must watch every movie or show I review in a dedicated video at least twice. I watched Women Talking twice. I watched The Acolyte twice. I watched The Marvels 3 times.
3 fucking times!
I watched Dread 4 times, but that was actually enjoyable. I did not, and will not, ever watch Joker 2 a second time because there's nothing more to say about it than what I was able to get out of one miserable viewing. Joker 2 spends almost its entire runtime going over the events of Joker 1, so an in-depth analysis of Joker 2 would be me talking about a movie which spends all its time talking about another movie, and such an analysis, like Joker, Folie, Deux, would be pointless. That said, I did rewatch the first Joker movie and South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut.
Soon Saddam and I will rule the world.
Hey, Satan! I got some new luggage for a trip up to Earth. Let's fuck to celebrate!
Is the title of that movie supposed to be a reference to an uncircumcised cock? I just realised that. Joker 2 is the worst movie of 2024. It is worse than Borderlands. It is worse than The Crow.
Oh, tell me. How on earth could it possibly be worse?
Well, penuried Jew, while those movies are merely standalone piles of trash that came and went with all the cultural impact of a fart in a hurricane, the villain Todd Phillips of Loxley's Jukebox musical sequel actively attempts to desecrate the legacy of its predecessor. Joker 2 is a terminal parasite, simultaneously dependent on the OG for its existence, yet determined to kill it, even if this causes its own demise. And while Borderlands and The Crow do at least attempt to tell their own stories, Joker 2 is nothing more than a tedious, sleepy commentary on another movie. Joker Folie Deux's legacy is that it will be a cautionary tale in how not to do a sequel, a disastrous box office bomb that did everything wrong, and a regular on worst sequels of all time lists. Arthur, what do you get when you make a cash grab sequel no one wanted that shits all over its vastly superior predecessor?
I'll tell you what you get! Call the police! You get what you fucking deserve!